Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm John here at Slapshotbricks. Today, we're going to kick things off by completely disassembling this Haunted Tavern Rebrickable mock designed by Brickative. This consists of 2 copies of the Creator 3-in-1 Haunted Mansion. If you're curious to see what's going on here, make sure to check out my previous video, which I will link up here. But we are going to be using the parts to create yet another spooky build. And the Rebrickable model that we are going to be building today is the Monsters Haunted Mansion designed by Rebricked. This consists of 1,968 pieces, requires 3 copies of the Creator 3-in-1 Haunted Mansion set, as well as one 32 by 32 base plate. The instructions are going to cost you $7.99 GBP, or the equivalent in US dollars is $10.65. This is a full-on, fully enclosed modular building that I cannot wait to start building. It looks great alongside some other buildings here, as you can see in the pictures. It also has back panels that open up so you can see the full interior on every single floor. And the biggest thing that I feel like it has going for it is it's clearly a callback to the Monster Fighters haunted house from 2012 that has long been retired and goes for upwards of $600 here in 2025. This is a set that we unfortunately do not own, which makes this Rebrickable model even more exciting. So let's get started. I managed to break down all of the pieces from the Haunted Tavern, and here are all the parts that we're going to need to construct the Monsters Haunted Mansion. I broke it down by part type to make the build process much quicker. Here we have our tile, small plate, large and medium plate, a majority of all of our bricks. Then we have our miscellaneous parts, specialty pieces, and all of our slope bricks. Over here is the 16 by 32 dark bluish gray Mills plate that the Haunted Tavern sat on. I actually need to double it, so I made another 16 by 32 dark bluish gray Mills plate with the Technic pins, so it can connect to the other one here, and we will have a full 32 by 32 Mills plate for the base of the Monsters Haunted Mansion. I also wanted to just show off an unfortunate occurrence here. As I was breaking down the Haunted Tavern, I lost several of the reddish brown tiles that cracked, unfortunately. So just be very careful if you're breaking down a set with reddish brown pieces, because the brittle brown issue is still a big problem here in 2025. So after a little over 6 hours of building, I have officially completed the Monsters Haunted Mansion. I cannot wait to show you guys the set and break down all of the details and features that it has. But first, let's introduce our main characters here for today's little story. Say hello to Frank and Thomas Stein, who are venture capitalists who recently purchased the Monsters Haunted Mansion for a very good deal after it went into foreclosure. They have never purchased a property of this size before, nor did they realize just how haunted this mansion is. So at the moment, they're a little bit on edge as they're unsure of what they're even going to be doing with this property. We'll check in with them later to see if they have it figured out, but first, let's check out the set. So here we have the Monsters Haunted Mansion designed by Rebricked. And right off the bat, I'm sure most of you guys can tell, this is a huge alternate build. I want to first start off by giving you all a nice 360 spin here of the set so you can see all 4 sides of the build. I also want to make a quick comment regarding the instructions that Rebrick created for this set. They are very easy to follow, so if you're capable of building the Creator 3-in-1 Haunted Mansion, you'll have no problem building this alternate model. But let's kick off our official review by starting off at the ground floor. In front of the Monsters Haunted Mansion, we have 4 large gates which can be locked up with chains to ensure that no trespassers make their way onto the property. Anyone could gain access to the property though if they decided to risk their lives and go through the cemetery. If you are able to gain access to the Haunted Mansion, you'll notice in front of the main entrance is a rather large front porch with plenty of space to put minifigures. Just beyond the cemetery, we have a few pumpkins growing, as well as a side entrance into the Haunted Mansion, complete with steps going up as well as a small roof awning above. We're now going to rotate the build 90 degrees once again, and you'll be able to see our first sliding back panel, which allows access into the interior of the first floor. Inside the first floor here, there's a lot of room for activities. In terms of furniture though, not so much. We have a couple small tables out here in the front, as well as a fireplace and grandfather clock over to the right. There's also a small side table next to the side entrance of the mansion, as well as stairs leading up to the second floor. And speaking of the second floor, let's open up our second back panel so we can check out what's going on upstairs. When you come up the stairs to the second floor, you'll notice once again again, there is a lot of open space. Off to the right, we do have a large bed as well as a small fireplace. All the way in the front, there's also an organ, as well as a small bench with the pirate hat and conductor hat sitting on top of dummy heads. And that completes all of the interior details for floor number 2. However, if we rotate the build 180 degrees, in the front portion of the mansion, we have a very nice balcony that once again has plenty of room to place some minifigures. The designer also did a great job utilizing all of the window pieces, complete with the 1x4 wood panel tiles, to make it look like the windows are actually all boarded up. Now the build isn't perfect, and you'll see as we spin it another 90 degrees, the designer got very creative in using all of these slope pieces to create the walls for the 3rd floor. However, there is a tiny gap right there, which bothers me just a tiny bit. Now, if we spin the mansion 90 degrees once again, you'll notice that 14 window elements were used to make up the entire back wall here for the 3rd floor. And to get a better look at the inside of the 3rd floor, we can pop off the entire roof as well as this back section of windows that we just talked about. The 3rd floor also features plenty of open space, lots of open studs where we can place minifigures, as well as a coffin where a skeleton figure has been placed inside. I feel like a vampire would be a little bit more appropriate though. It's not the smoothest process putting this window panel as well as the roof back together, as several pieces kept falling off as I was trying to get everything in place. I really wish this back section was also a panel that could swing out like the 1st and 2nd floor. The roof of the Monsters Haunted Mansion could be perceived as a bonus 4th floor, as you have plenty of room to place whatever you would like. The last thing that I want to focus on is the uppermost part of the roof structure, which is clearly designed to mimic that of the top of the Monster Fighters haunted house. I think it looks great, it gets the job done, and it really gives you the feel that this is a massive haunted mansion. Overall, I think this alternate build looks fantastic and well worth it if you want to pick up 3 copies and build this for yourself. I do have to warn you though, the building experience is a little bit frustrating. I felt like when I was going to build one portion of the Haunted Mansion, I was inadvertently breaking off pieces from 2 or 3 other sections in the process, which was very annoying to keep having to pick up pieces and put them back where they were. This is one of those sets I feel like you build it, you look at it, and you don't touch it. It's not something that you can play with too much without inadvertently breaking off a lot of pieces. I also noticed that the floors for each level of the Haunted Mansion here are rather empty and lacking in details. And I think that's just because the designer had to use a majority of the pieces for the structure of the set, leaving him not many left over to create fun little haunted builds for the inside, which I think at the end of the day is okay, because Frank and Thomas have some ideas of their own for what they want to do with the Monsters Haunted Mansion. Once Frank and Thomas were the official owners of the Monsters Haunted Mansion, they visited daily to see what repairs could be made and how they could use this property to make some money. However, every time they showed up, there was always a different monster, mummy, ghost, ghoul, or zombie to greet them. Thomas was very upset as he felt he and Frank had been swindled by the bank, as they were told the Monsters Haunted Mansion was completely abandoned and that not a single living thing had access to the property. Frank, on the other hand, didn't seem to mind all of the other visitors because it was clear none of them wanted to bring any harm to him, Thomas, or the Monsters Haunted Mansion. As Frank got to know each and every single visitor that came to the Monsters Haunted Mansion, he noticed they all had one thing in common. Every single creature and spirit that made their way to the mansion needed some sort of help. And we're not talking financial help. Everyone who came to the mansion was in some sort of emotional distress, and this gave Frank one of his best ideas to date. Frank immediately ran his idea by Thomas, as he believed the two of them could make a huge impact on the haunted community. Thomas, on the other hand, saw nothing but dollar signs, so he greenlit Frank's idea without hesitation. Frank and Thomas began by transforming the first floor of the mansion into a lounge area, complete with couches, reclining chairs, a refrigerator full of snacks, and even a big flat-screen TV where everyone could enjoy their favorite movies, TV shows, and video games. Frank and Thomas decided to designate the second floor as a complete safe space where monsters could feel comfortable talking about their feelings, problems or anything they needed to get off their chest with friends, family members, or licensed professionals. The third floor was dedicated to total zen and relaxation, complete with a tanning coffin and a table where massages could be given. And finally, the rooftop was designated as a yoga area when weather permitted. News spread like wildfire around the haunted tri-state area about what Frank and Thomas were doing. It wasn't long before they had a long line outside their front door. Monsters everywhere needed a break from the grind of their daily routine, like this one in particular, who dreaded going to work every day as his 9-to-5 job was slowly killing him. This mother needed a break of her own as her kids and all of their activities were starting to drive her crazy. This zombie was unfortunately severely depressed after his wife left him for a more successful werewolf. This Yeti was feeling extremely overwhelmed as he felt he couldn't go anywhere without people staring or taking pictures of him. And finally, this witch just needed a weekend getaway. After almost a decade of working every day of the week, she managed to save her restaurant from bankruptcy and wanted to reward herself. With each passing day, hundreds more monsters showed up, and Frank and Thomas realized just how important their monsters retreat could be. At the end of the day, even monsters have monsters of their own that they need to conquer. So what did you all think of the Monster Fighters Haunted Mansion designed by Rebricked? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments section below. Even though this is not a perfect model and it has its flaws, I thoroughly enjoyed building it, and I'll tell you this, I'd much rather spend $270 for 3 copies of the Creator 3-in-1 Haunted Mansion, hopefully less when you can inevitably find it on sale, plus $10 for the instructions as compared to paying upwards of $600 for that retired Monster Fighters haunted house. I also just want to take a quick moment here and thank you all for helping us surpass 5,000 subscribers here on the channel. That was our 2025 subscriber goal, and I'm just beyond humbled and super grateful to you all that we were able to hit that goal, and it's not even November 1st. If you guys want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with us, make sure to follow us on Instagram as well, Slapshotbricks, because that's where I do a lot of our announcements, especially with our big live stream coming up to celebrate 5,000 subscribers. It will be at some point in November. I've already posted the stream, but just make sure you're up to date with us over on Instagram and here on YouTube to find out exactly when that giveaway celebration live stream is happening. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, because we would love to have you join our Slapshotbricks family. And with that being said, don't stop shooting until you score. You can watch more of our LEGO videos on the end screen now.